nights change your life forever. Others dig into your soul, carve out your safety, and leave you with scars no one can see. This story is both. It started with a party, just another random summer weekend when boredom makes you reckless. I wasn't much of a social guy. My friends always said I was the quiet one, the one they had to drag out of the house like a reluctant ghost. That night, my friend Philip hit me up out of the blue. House party, come, no excuses. I almost bailed. Almost. But something about being alone that night felt worse. I figured, screw it. Philip texted me the address, a house on the edge of a nearby town I'd never been to. He said he'd meet me there, so I drove. Just as I pulled onto the narrow road, a message lit up. My screen. Yo bro, can't make it. Something came up. I stared at the text. Are you kidding me? I was already parked in front of the house. Music pulsed from inside. Lights flashed through the no. Where you going to see in toes? People laughed. I could have left. I should have. But pride's a dangerous thing. You made it this far. Don't waste the night. I walked up the steps and knocked. The guy who answered the door looked like he belonged in a movie. Tall, confident, perfect smile. Randy, he said, offering a fist bump. Come on in, man. The more the merrier. And just like that, I was inside. To my surprise, everyone was cool. I didn't know a single face in that house. And yet, they greeted me like I'd always been part of the group. The music was solid. The drinks were flowing, and even a few girls made casual conversation. It was one of those rare social miracles. For a while, it was great. But as the night stretched on, things started to feel off. It was subtle at first. Whispers that stopped when I entered a room. A few people staring a second too long. Lights flickering even though the music equipment was flawless. Maybe I drank too much. Or maybe the atmosphere shifted in a way that only people who don't belong can sense. Around 2 a.m., the house was still packed, but my head was spinning. I needed space. I excused myself and went upstairs in search of a bathroom. The house was bigger than I thought. Hallways that seemed to twist. Rooms that looked like they hadn't been used in years. And staircases that creaked like they hadn't been stepped on in decades. Every bathroom was either locked or occupied. My stomach churned and sweat poured down my back. I found a door that led to what looked like an attic room. The air was dry and heavy, like it hadn't moved in ages. But it was quiet. I stepped inside. Dust floated in the beam of moonlight streaming through the lone window. No lights, no furniture except a stool and some stacked boxes. It felt like a forgotten space. I leaned out of the window and took a deep breath. The cool breeze helped. For a second, I closed my eyes and just existed. Then I heard it. Footsteps on the roof. I froze. My eyes widened. That didn't make sense. The roof sloped sharply, and there was no reason for anyone to be up there. Curiosity got the better of me. I climbed out onto the roof. Stupid, I know, but I was drunk, nauseous, and more worried about puking than dying. That's when I saw them. 2 figures crouched near a side window, both wearing ski masks, both holding bags. It hit me like a slap to the face. The house was being robbed. I ducked behind a chimney and peeked again. They hadn't seen me yet. They moved quickly, silent, slipping through the window like they'd done this before. Then I made a mistake. My shoe scraped a shingle. The sound echoed like a gunshot. One of them snapped his head toward me. Our eyes locked. I saw the panic in his face. He nudged the other and pointed. They started moving toward me, fast. I stumbled back, heart slamming in my chest. I had one chance. I ripped my phone from my pocket and tried to call 911, but my hand slipped. The phone hit the roof, clattered, and slid down into the gutter. The taller burglar shouted, "Who's there?" I saw a loose shingle. I grabbed it and hurled it at them. Missed, but it startled them. One of them slipped. He crashed down the slope, hitting the gutter hard before tumbling into the backyard below. The other hesitated, looked at his fallen partner, then bolted, leaping into a tree and vanishing into the night. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called the cops, not me, not with my phone lost to the roof. I crawled back into the attic, heart pounding, and made my way downstairs. The party hadn't noticed a thing. Laughter, music, drinks still being poured. I found Randy and told him what happened. His face went pale. He called the police. The party died fast. Lights on, people rushing out, flashing blue lights outside. The guy who fell off the roof was caught, injured, but alive. The other, gone. It should have ended there, but it didn't. And a few months later, Philip and I were hanging out when Randy called. "Come by for a beer," he said. When we pulled up, I immediately noticed something strange. The windows and front door had all been replaced, reinforced. Gray steel, heavy-duty locks. Inside, Randy looked older, tired. He told us something that made my blood run cold. Since that night, his family had been targeted. First, letters, threatening, no return address. Then photographs of Randy, his siblings, his mother. Late-night cars circling the house. One night they found footprints in the backyard, leading up to the windows. They installed cameras, got a motion sensor system. But whoever it was never showed up on tape. They had changed every lock, reinforced every door, and still the feeling lingered. The police had no leads. The man they caught refused to talk. Not a word, not a name. Just stared at the floor in court with a faint, twisted smile. Randy looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You didn't just interrupt a robbery that night. You pissed off a monster." I still don't know who the second guy was, but somewhere out there, he's watching, waiting. And he knows where Randy lives. Maybe even where I do. And summer is coming again. When my cousin Cody and I were in our early 20s, we went on a handful of camping trips around Colorado. This happened, I believe, when I was 22, and he was 23. And it happened in Urpo Forest. It was my first time camping there. Not Cody's, though. It was in the middle of the week. Our jobs allowed us to have off days in the middle of the week, and we'd often go on our campouts then to avoid traffic and crowds. I always let Cody take charge on these trips. He's the Eagle Scout, not me. We parked by a picnic area and we set foot into the woods from there. After about 15 minutes of hiking deeper into the woods, we found a good spot to set up camp. A good spot meaning a big enough clearing to fit 2 tents, the portable stove, and a campfire. The first thing we did was unpack our stuff and set up our tents. Cody has always been a lot quicker than me in pitching a tent. He does it in only a few minutes. It always takes me over 20 minutes. Or rather, It always took me over 20 minutes, as I haven't been camping out in the wilderness since this. The next thing we did was create a ring of stones for a fire, then gathered some sticks and wood. He did bring some fire, starter and a lighter, so I guess we kinda cheated. But oh well. It was at the point in the day when the sun was going down. We had a fire going, and now Cody was grilling up some steak and burgers. One thing about Cody is he always went all out with the food on these trips, and he's a really good cook, so I always trusted him with feeding us. Of course, we had our bear spray, in case the smell of the food would attract a black bear, which Cody always said was very unlikely. He always says the real thing you gotta worry about in the middle of the woods is other people. As we ate our steak and burgers, we cracked open some beers and had some classic rock playing on the speaker. If you've never been camping, you don't understand how good of a vibe moments like this are. Out in the wilderness with a friend or family member and some beers, reminiscing about good times and vibing to music. As it got dark, we started playing card games on this little folding platform table we brought specifically for cards. After playing more traditional card games, we started playing Uno. And this was when we heard something out in the woods. I paused the song on my phone so that the speaker would go silent. It was clear now. We heard a person humming and footsteps from beyond the trees in the pitch blackness of the forest. Cody urged me to find the flashlight. I tried, but by the time I found it, the sounds had faded away. I asked Cody if that was something to be concerned about, and he said it definitely was unusual for someone else to be this deep in the woods, let alone creepily walking by a campsite with an active campfire, humming loudly. I was a bit shaken, and I saw Cody was too. We went back to playing cards with the music much lower now. When we least expected it, a big stick landing in the middle of our campsite made us both jump out of our skin. It didn't fall from a tree. This thing was thrown at us by someone. Cody started yelling something along the lines of, "Whoever's out there messing with us, get a life, and off." And then, footsteps could be heard once again in the distance. They were walking away from us. I said we should pack up camp and move somewhere else. He said absolutely not in the dark. We both had bear spray, and he advised to just keep it next to me in my tent when we go to sleep. It was the closest thing to ranged self-defense weapons we had. We kept hearing sounds like tree branches cracking in the distance. Sounds that you would never expect an animal to be making. Someone was out there, maybe multiple people. That much was clear. We had to go to sleep eventually, so we agreed that maybe we should take turns staying up to keep watch, to make sure that no one comes to our campsite and steals anything. Or worse. Cody agreed to take first watch. He said he'd stay up and read his book, so I crawled into my tent and then my sleeping bag and went to sleep. Waking up in the middle of the night while camping is normal. You're in a cold outdoor environment in an uncomfortable sleeping bag. Any number of things could wake you up. I didn't yet know what woke me up. I was still in a fog. My brain didn't feel fully woken up yet. I looked up and saw a head peering into my tent. It looked like Cody. I rubbed my eyes, but really it was the darkness that was preventing me from seeing anything of his face. I said, "Cody?" Thinking he was waking me up to take my turn of keeping watch, I said groggily, "Is it my turn?" I stared at the head peering at me in my sleeping bag, slowly growing more awake every second. Then I heard the zipper to the tent quickly zip up, and his head disappeared. I laid back down in my sleeping bag, but only for a second. I suddenly had some weird moment of clarity, where I shot to an upright position and listened as the footsteps walked away. "Cody," I said. He didn't answer. I unzipped my tent to peek out into the campsite. The fire was dead. Cody wasn't out there. I went over to Cody's tent, which was zipped up. I unzipped it and looked inside, to see Cody fast asleep in his sleeping bag. I got chills, goosebumps, whatever you want to call it. I almost howled myself at the realization. I started shaking him awake, and when he finally awoke, I told him someone's here at the campsite. It took him a minute to come back to reality, just like I did. But when he did, he grabbed his bear spray. He said he must have dozed off while reading. He said I should sleep in the tent with him tonight. But to do that, I'd need my sleeping bag. He came outside the tent with me and stood watch as I ran to my tent to grab it. In my tent, grabbing my sleeping bag, I heard that goddamn humming again from outside. I grabbed it and Cody whispered at me to hurry up. I said, "You hear that too?" He said yes. We both got back in his tent and zipped it up with our cans of bear spray by our sides. I tell you, in those moments I wanted nothing more than for a bear to come and save the day. The hours dragged on as I stayed up while Cody slept. After 3 long, horrible hours, I woke him up and we switched. When Cody woke me up, it was almost dawn. There was light outside, so we packed everything up, and by the time we were done, there was plenty of light to hike back to the car. While we could have driven somewhere else and had another night of camping elsewhere, neither of us were feeling it anymore. This was a haunting experience, and I think we both just wanted to be in the safety of our houses. It's been 6 years since this happened, and he's hit me up a few times since then about camping. But I haven't really had interest since this experience. People are just too scary. Why was someone out there stalking our campsite? And the sight of that person's head in the dark, just looking into my tent, it was straight up from a nightmare. I may never go camping again.